Good morning. This is the weekly impact briefing for Central North Carolina for the period covering April the 3rd through April the 9th, the upcoming week. Got a little bit to talk about this week, so we'll get started with an active weather pattern. You can see from our surface fronts this week, top left being the early week, we've got a cold front that's going to move through the area late tonight and early Tuesday, and that's going to bring a round of severe weather with it tonight. And then as we get towards midweek, there's another low-pressure system that's going to move up from the southern plains and a cold front that will move through and may actually bring us a better chance of severe weather Wednesday night into early Thursday. And that low pressure will move up into New England and kind of just slowly wobble across the area. And so as we get into late week, we're going to get into a cool pattern with some gusty winds possible Thursday and Friday. In kind of a northwesterly wind flow pattern. And then heading into next week, we'll get high pressure building back over and hopefully warm up quite a bit. So if you haven't heard already today, we've got a chance of severe weather this evening, and here's a look at the radar at 11 a.m. And you can see the main line of convection still back to the west over western Georgia, eastern Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. And we've been seeing some convection moving up out of central Georgia and towards upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina as early as 10 or 11 a.m. this morning. But with time, these storms have been weakening as the air mass, as you get into the Carolinas, just doesn't support strong storms yet. But we'll see this activity pick up as we move into the early afternoon hours, as we heat up some more and get some better moisture into our area and get better instability. So as this line approaches, we expect activity to really start to pick up, say, after 1 or 2 p.m. across western North Carolina. Here's a look at what our radar simulations for the timing of these storms. Again, this is model simulation, so this is just what the radar might look like. But we're expecting this line of convection to be severe as it moves into the foothills in the western Piedmont, approaching the I-77 corridor around 4 p.m. or so, moving into maybe the Triad and east of Charlotte by 5 or 6. And again, at this point, damaging straight line winds and maybe even an isolated tornado embedded within this line. The line is expected to move east through the evening hours, so after sunset, 7 to 9 p.m. into the heart of the Piedmont, approaching US 1, Fayetteville, Raleigh areas. And with time, and you can notice here even in the model simulations, we expect that this system, as it outpaces its main upper level forcing and we lose instability, is going to weaken. So as you get past US 1 and towards I-95, we expect a kind of a weakening trend. However, that upper level system that was originally sparked this line of convection moves over overnight. Conditions may be favorable for some additional showers and thunderstorms. So while the main line of storms will move through this evening, I wouldn't be surprised if you hear a rumble of thunder early tomorrow morning or even a shower, especially over eastern North Carolina as you're headed into work. Here's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center for the week, and you see in the top left today's outlook, a slight risk. So again, expecting damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, maybe 1 or 2 tornadoes within this line. But again, as we move east, expecting that threat to diminish, and so the slight risk really covers the southern Piedmont, Charlotte, up towards Greensboro and down towards Fayetteville areas. Tuesday will be quiet as far as storms, although it will be warm and a bit breezy with wind gusts to 30 to 35 miles per hour possible. And then that second chance of severe weather in the bottom left there, the day 3 outlook on Wednesday. And again, that slight risk covering the western parts of North Carolina. This system will be coming in the evening, much like this evening's system. And so as we go through the overnight hours, there may be, again, a weakening trend with that. Here's a different way of looking at the impacts, and you may have seen this in another briefing that we sent out earlier this morning. But a limited tornado impact, again, 1 or 2 tornadoes embedded within this line. I think that threat's going to be best over upstate South Carolina, and then weakening with time. Damaging straight line winds will be our main threat. Maybe some hail and some flash flooding, again, in urban areas where the flash flooding may occur, but not looking at a widespread threat from those. And then, of course, in these systems, lightning is going to be a threat, especially this evening. Here's a look at rainfall for the week. Top left is today, and with this type of line of convection, 1 to 2 inches possible in the heaviest cells, and especially where those train. Lesser amounts as you head up towards Raleigh and Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, with that, again, weakening trend. Nothing on Tuesday. Another bout of heavy rain southwest of Charlotte on Wednesday. And then Friday and Saturday clearing out, again breezy, but no precipitation expected. Cooler this weekend, but then heading into next week in our 8 to 14 day outlook, expecting above normal temperatures. So the cool down this weekend should be brief, and we should get back to the 70s and 80s that we've been seeing next week. So again, a summary. Line of storms moving to western North Carolina this afternoon. The biggest threat damaging winds and maybe an isolated tornado. This line of storms is expected to weaken as it moves east through the evening hours. Again, as you get into eastern North Carolina, the threat may not be as great. We could see some additional showers and storms develop behind the line overnight. Another severe weather event possible on Wednesday evening through early Thursday. Again, cooling down for the latter half of the week. You know, as we're going into the agricultural season and things are starting to grow, temperatures, overnight temperatures are an interest to people, but we are not expecting any freezing temperatures. So while we'll get into the 30s, we'll have a bit of light wind each night, and that may mitigate the frost potential, but not expecting any widespread freezing. And so then finally, put a plug in again for our 2007 Hurricane Awareness Tour. You may have already heard of this in previous weeks, but that will be coming to the Raleigh-Durham International Airport on Wednesday, May the 10th. There's a public time for folks to come, 2:30 to 5 p.m. We have some time set aside for media interviews earlier in the morning, but the public can come 2:30 to 5 p.m., get a tour of those airplanes that are flying into hurricanes, doing the research and doing the reconnaissance of observations, and learn a lot about just how we do our forecasting and what makes the hurricane forecasting interesting and difficult. So check that out if you can. If you have any questions, I'll take those. And not hearing any questions, thank you for stopping in for our briefing this week. If you have any questions at a later time, feel free to email or call us. We're happy to help.